What's going on, Falcon fans? It's your boy Ricardo coming back at you with another video. So today we're gonna talk about Michael Penix Jr. and the pressure that he's gonna be under in his first full season as a starter for these Atlanta Falcons. Now we already knew this. We heard Raheem Morris doing the combine said that he's the starter, so this is not a surprise. But going in, we still not 100% sure. What Michael Penix can be. We have seen the flashes, and we'll get into that today. The things we've seen Michael Penix Jr., things that we like, and things like that. But then reality is that the Atlanta Falcons have a lot of optimism about this season and what they think they can actually do in this division in NFC, and they can really compete, right? So that's where when you look at Michael Penix going to a second full season, instead of him having those second year rookie roles, really just playing a full season as a rookie. He really have the time, to develop like and make the mistakes that young quarterbacks make in this league. Because if he does, the Atlanta Falcons, still maybe be a year away or something like that. But the what the feeling that we all have, most of it have, is that Michael Penix is up to the task and that he's gonna be able to live up to it and be able to help the Atlanta Falcons get to the playoffs this year, win NFC South. And when you're looking at things like that, you know you have to base it off what he did in college, and then just those three starts that we had last season, and that's what you're going to go off of. So when I talk about pressure, that's what I mean. So we're definitely going to talk about it today. I definitely want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about this topic, and we're going to get into it. We're going to break down a couple of things. um, like I said, that Michael Penix Jr. still that really good last year, things that we could build off of, and why everybody's feeling the way they're feeling about the potential of what Michael Penix Jr. can actually bring to the table this year. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you're not dropping another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys out here to talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come here and talk about. That's right, these Atlanta Falcons. So, like I said, guys, the Atlanta Falcons in general, right? They have lots of optimism on Penix. That's where it starts there. You know, as a quarterback, as any player in any sports, right? You want your organization to believe in you, right? First thing, they believe in you about, how much money they give you. In this case, where they pick you in the draft, right? When they pick you, number eighth overall, especially when they just paid a quarterback $180 million, right? And so basically telling you that yes, we got this guy that we paid all this money, but you are a future. That's why we pick you number eight. When they send a whole contingency out, during the draft process to go look at him throw in inclement weather, and he impresses them, you know, that's the optimism they had, right? And I think when you listening to, to Terry Fontenot, you listen to Raheem Morris, listen to, um, Yates, listen to all those guys, in about what they seen out of Michael Penix Jr., you kind of feel the confidence they have in this young man, and you start to realize that that's why they did what they did, right? We're not going to relitigate the draft from last year, right? Because we already know what turned how that happened, and it kind of paid off for the Falcons to go there. But you know the the optimism that the Atlanta Falcons had in Michael Penix Jr. at that time is kind of showing right now by their belief or giving him the keys to the franchise. And it wasn't an original plan. We know that, right? We thought Kirk Cousins was going to be here for a year, maybe even 2 years, based off the contract guarantees that he had. But you know, we we all know what happened towards the end of the season, so we really don't have to go back down that road to look at those lines of events. But when you looking at Michael Penix Jr., right, you start to understand why they had the feeling that they had. Now, one of the things that was interesting, right? You get a rookie quarterback and you say he's not going to play, right, for 2 seasons, right? That's what they said. But then you let him play like a quarter in preseasons, and then you put him on ice, right? And some reports out there that he was so electric in what he was showing in practices and things like that, that they didn't want to create that quarterback controversy because what he was going to be able to display, you know, in preseason. So he only played a half of a preseason game, if that much, right? And then they put him on ice. Raheem Morris, well, I see he don't want to play his guys in preseason and things like that. But I mean, this is a rookie that you wasn't planning on playing anyway this season, and you put him on ice. So you kind of start to look and start to figure out what the Atlanta Falcons was trying to do. And you listen to some of the players now, they say, yeah, we saw it. We saw the throws he was making in practice. Then some people saying that that's why we didn't have open practice last year. And I think that was really due to renovations. They were doing renovations out at Flower Bench. So, we did get to see 2 practices, one at the high school, and then we saw one in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So we also saw some glimpses, but I think as a coaching staff, they saw a lot more, and they knew what they had. But at the same time, they was going to respect, their starting quarterback and Kirk Cousins, and they didn't want to create that quarterback controversies. So we knew then that they what they believed in Michael Penix Jr. and why they felt like they had something there, right? You also seen what they decided to do after the 5 game stretch that Kirk Cousins had, and they felt like the rookie coming in would give them the best opportunity to do a playoff push. Because we got to remember, at the time, the Atlanta Falcons was still in a playoff hunt. So you're not just putting a young quarterback in, to finish off the season to see what he got. No, you're putting a quarterback in because you felt like he gives you the best opportunity to win games when Atlanta Falcons still in the playoff push. So we talk about optimism that they had. It started last year, and maybe he waited too long. We won't go back through that and determine did he wait too long to do it. But at the same time, that's what we was able to identify, that Raheem Morris and you know the guys up top really believed in Michael Penix Jr. and they decided to put him in for a playoff run and take the 13-year veteran out the game. That's what it really boils down to. So that's the optimism that we had. So let's go and say what's going on, Recondo Falcon family? New era is here. Atlanta Falcon will rise in 2025. That's right. So let's talk about some of the reasons why the Atlanta Falcons are so high on Michael Penix Jr. Well, one thing when you watch him play, right? So let's go back. We're not going to go too deep into it, but looking at his college career, right? It was like 2 different players when you started to look at what he was able to do in college. Now, one thing was consistent was when he got an opportunity to play, right? Because he did sustain injuries in college, but when he got an opportunity to play, he actually was really productive. He was with Indiana. He got them to one of their first winning seasons in a long time, right? Of course, he took injuries there, you know, which was one reason he wrote that letter to the league. Remember that? If you guys recall, he wrote the letter to the league. And what's going on, James? He wrote the letter to the league and telling everybody that, judging by his character and how he's going to come in and perform. And that's what we see. We see the maturity out of him, right? So that's one of the reasons why they feel so high on Michael Penix, because, the trials and tribulations he went through in college would break a lot of people, right? You go back and look at some of the injuries he had, and that's the question, because obviously from a medical standpoint, they had to get the warm and fuzzy as well that he was going to be medically cleared. He was medically cleared, to be drafted number 8th overall, because you don't want to invest that much in a guy that's not going to be able to last. So they felt that one reason. The second reason, if you go look at like I said, he changed his game, right? You look at Indiana, he was a athletic quarterback. He's still athletic, but I'm just saying he ran around more. He did a lot of more things with the legs and things like that, right? Favorite quarterback was Michael Vick, so you kind of see where he started to get that from. But the transformation that he was able to make when he got to the University of Washington was just really outstanding, right? They changed the game. Um, him and Patrick Mahomes are only two guys that throw for that many yards, in the football season. I mean, this guy took a team undefeated to the to the to college football playoffs. So you saw the talent that was there, right? And some he didn't really have a running game, right? There was a lot of throwing the ball, so he was able to display his arm, the accuracy, the timing, and things like that. That's what he showed on film in college, right? Some of the question was, so because he could throw the deep ball, one of the best deep balls down the field. Some of the field was, can he throw over the middle of the field, with time and accuracy and things like that. Um, I think some of those things were answered in these 3 games. But that's one of the things that they felt about Michael Penix. One thing, if you remember, when Raheem Morris took over, he said he wanted a quarterback that can throw on time, right? Can do really good processor. That's what he mentioned, right? So that's why Kirk Cousins fit that perfectly, right? Because this is a guy that's going to throw on time. He's a really good processor. I mean, we see Kirk Cousins go through 5 reads before he hit Bijan for a touchdown against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, right? So, you know, somebody that can process and be able to be really, really good with the football, right? So you bring in Michael Penix Jr. and the first thing off the bat is you can see that how he was able to manipulate his eyes. And I'm just going off some of the things that his coaches said. Coaches said that he was already manipulate players with his eyes, right? That's usually not young quarterbacks. Young quarterbacks, they kind of, still trying to read defenses and learn defenses, so they kind of stare at, the guy that they're going to, and that's how interception starts, right? We seen that with Desmond Ritter, his first full season, and it just wasn't good, right? Stare down guys, just had too many turnovers, all right. But what we've seen out of Michael Penix this past season in 2024 was his ability to throw on time and precision. I mean, you can count on probably 2 hands, maybe 4 hands, right? When I say you count throws where Michael Penix Jr. threw the ball before the receiver was coming out of this break, right? So that's timing, right? And one of the best quarterbacks to throw on timing was Matty Ice. That's why I like them getting together, right? Because I love that. That's throwing on timing. That's right. So this is where you coming out your break, and this why this year is going to be really important for him to get with his receivers, right? Because when they can build that chemistry, and the quarterback and receiver know that when you're coming out your break, the ball is going to be there. It's timing. It's timing. It's timing, right? And that's, to be honest with you, that's how he threw his first interception in the league, right? Because he was throwing on time, right? The wide receiver ran the wrong route. He's throwing on time. This was the wide receiver was supposed to be, vice where he wasn't, and the defender was there. So it looks like he threw the ball directly. You go back and look at the play against the Commanders. He threw his first interception, right? Well, it wasn't the first, right? Because he played third interception in the Giants game with Kyle Pitts. But the first interception of that game, um, only interception of that game, he threw that on time. That was completely timing, right? Because you like, why he throwing it there? Because he anticipated that the receiver is supposed to be there, right? That's timing, right? When and that's for a young quarterback. That's what I mean, guys. That's for a young quarterback. He manipulating the safety, right? Because usually that's where you want to be able to kind of read where defense is at right now. He's going to probably get some more experience exotic defenses this year. They try to fool him and things like that. So he's still a young guy. So he's gonna have to be on a learning curve. But what we was able to see last year was the ability to be able to manipulate his eyes, manipulate players with his eyes, and then throw with time. Right? Those things takes time to learn. And Michael Penix Jr. was doing that by week 2 in that second half, right? I mean, if you go to the first half, it was still kind of shaky, right? But by the second half, he started to really the field and start to get in rhythm with it with his pass catchers. And these are guys that he hadn't practiced with in a long time. So, you know, that's one of the things where I believe that, they are so high on him because, I think Dave Archer mentioned that to talk to the coaching staff, and he made throws. He made throws that they didn't think he was going to make based off the reads, where they thought he should have went with the ball. But he was already manipulating players and defenders, not just safeties, but the cornerbacks, the linebackers. And when he saw they took a step forward or they didn't break on the ball fast enough and he delivered the ball with accuracy, you go back to the Ray McLeod deep pass on the corner route. That ball probably wasn't supposed to go there, but he saw the cornerback stop to try to come up and get the out route in the flat, and he knew he wasn't going to be able to get back over. He had the safety in the middle of the field, so he knew he put that ball in a certain spot. Only person who's going to be able to catch that ball was his receiver, and it was one of the, like I said, one of the best passes you've seen, from a quarterback. And I ain't gonna lie, one of the best passes we've seen from a Atlanta Falcon quarterback in a long time, right? So, plays like that, like I still go back and look at the wheel route that Bijan Robinson ran, and it was an incomplete pass, but the accuracy on that pass down the sideline, man, was amazing. So not just throwing precision, manipulating eyes, but throwing with accuracy and timing. That's what he displayed, all those attributes just in the 3 games. Displayed all those attributes just in the 3 games. Now, what we want to see, like I said, the chemistry with his receivers that he never really got a lot of chemistry with, getting more in the playbooks. And another thing, listening to Zach Robinson, is the fact that they're going to expand the playbook. It's probably going to change a little bit, right? Because Penix a little bit mobile. He could do a little bit more things. He can touch every part of the field with his arm talent that he has. So I believe that the offense is going to be look different as well this year. You know, and then last but not least, being able to rely on the running game with Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson is really going to be good. So this is why the Atlanta Falcons have so much optimism for Penix with only 3 games, right? Sometimes you like, man, we don't really know what we got. We really don't know. But right now, listening to Terry Fontenot, listening to Raheem Morris, listening to TJ Yates, right? You're listen to all these guys, listen to his new quarterback coach, Doug Williams Jr. You listen to all those guys and you hear them talk about the confidence. One thing that they always talk about, the poise, right? And that's another thing, an intangible that you can't teach. So this is why the Atlanta Falcons have so much optimism for Michael Penix. And this is why they're putting so much pressure on him going into 2025. So I can't wait to see. I know you guys can't wait to see, but man, it's really going to be exciting to see what Michael Penix can do. And this is why the Atlanta Falcons have so much optimism. Last thing, he threw for 737 passing yards in those 3 weeks. That's per 100. He had 100 attempts. He led all quarterbacks that qualifier with 10.2 air yards per attempt. So he was throwing the ball downfield. So be ready for that. We about to see that. And if you go back to his college days in Washington, that's what he did. He threw the ball down the field. So we about to really gonna do this do this thing, man. Go back to his probably best two throws, in those 3 weeks is, of course, the throw to Michael Kyle Pitts for in the fourth down, 4th and 13. It's probably one of his best throws. On the throw on the sideline to Cardell Hodge, you know, that was a whole shot, man. Cardell Hodge could have stayed in bounds. That would have been a touchdown. Um, the one to Ray McLeod, of course. It's another corner route he threw to Drake London was spectacular as well. You know, and then just get developing that chemistry with Drake. You know, throwing that back shoulder route in the end zone. You know, when he missed the first time, going deep, and then he came right back for a touchdown in the half. So those are some of his highlight throws that he made, right? Those are some of the highlight throws he made. But the routine throws that we're not going to talk about is the timing patterns he had to Darnell Mooney in the Giants game. Um, go back and look at those throws as well. And like those are some of the throws I mentioned where Darnell Mooney was still coming on this break and the ball was already there. Throws like that, those anticipation throws, those timing throws, and precision throws. That's what we've seen on Michael Penix. So that's the reason why they have so much optimism in him, and that's why the pressure is on. It really is. So let's go to the next thing, right? And I say under the lights, and I mean prime time, right? So we talking about 5 prime time games for the Atlanta Falcons this year, and the fact that the NFL is hold put the Atlanta Falcons in 5 primetime games is simply because their potential that they think Michael Penix Jr. has. It's just that simple. It's that simple. The young stars, this is what sells quarterbacks. People don't want to, we know this, but the quarterbacks sell in football. We got a young quarterback, with the arm talent just out of this world, right? Along on our talent right now in this league, in my opinion, that could go with Michael Penix Jr. is probably Patrick Mahomes and maybe a Josh Allen, but man, the way he throw that ball, it's next level, and the NFL sees that. So putting him under the lights, right, and it's no other pressure than that, right? So we got 3 Sunday night football games, 2 Monday night football games, well, 2 Sunday nights, a Thursday night, and 2 Monday nights. So we're going to see Michael Penix a lot under the lights this year, right? And you know what they say, pressure busts pipes, right? But that's why I go back to the first topic I had. The optimism is that this guy seems like he doesn't rattle under pressure, right? I mean, our playoff lives are on the line um, in that Commanders game on that last drive before his last drive to tie the game up, and he completed 2 fourth down passes. You know, one for a first down and then one for a touchdown, right? During that drive. I mean, think about what could have went wrong in that drive. Went wrong. The ball went over Bijan's head, put us back, right? Michael Penix didn't flinch. So when I say pressure bust pipes, putting Michael Penix under the lights is going to be huge. And then we just got to have the rest of the team come with him. That's what we're hoping, right? I think some guys like to shine, and I love our young talent. You look at a guy like Bijan Robinson, Drake London. You love those guys, to come to the party with us. The question is, and what the Falcons worked on all off seasons, the defense. Is it going to show up under the lights? But these 5 primetime games says a lot where the NFL brass see the Atlanta Falcons with Michael Penix Jr. under him. Now, don't get me wrong. I think we had 4 primetime games last year with Kirk Cousins, but it's about the quarterbacks, right? That's what it boils down to. We got a quarterback that has potential to be great, right? Because I'm not calling him great. because we've only seen 3 games, but the potential to be there with that arm talent and his ability to light up the scoreboard. That's why he's under the lights. And we start off really soon. Everybody's seen the schedule by now. Week 2, going to Minnesota, which is a tough place to play. That crowd is loud, and Michael Penix never played in Minnesota before, so it's gonna be really interesting. So that's the first big test under the lights. It's gonna be on Sunday Night Football on week 2. So we starting off to hit the ground running, and we come back on a Monday night, right? Monday night, back-to-back weeks, Monday night, Sunday night, against the Buffalo Bills, and then heading to San Francisco. So you know, in those first 7 games of the season, we're gonna play on the lights 3 times. So that is going to be huge. So pressure buzz pipes, and we're going to find out a lot about Michael Penix Jr. We're going to find a lot about this Atlanta Falcons team, but you know, a lot of pressure is being put on this young quarterback in his first full season, and it's wild. It's wild to think about it because usually, you want to just let the guy learn, right? But in this case, we need him to be Jaden Daniels. We need him to be C.J. Stroud. We need him to be able to do these things, and produce, because that's what it's all about. So, Billy Bill said, "What's going on? What's up? Um, John Moreno says, what are they gonna do with Kirk? We'll get with Kirk in just a minute because I'm glad you asked that question. Glad you asked that question. Um, it's because they want to they want to get good look at Michael Penix Jr. and what he does with these games will determine what they say about him in years to come. Yes, this is definitely you know about the future, man. We're gonna talk about that in just a minute as well. So you guys right on what some of the topics I'm going to talk about. So just hold off. We're going to definitely get to that. But guys, these 5 primetime games is huge for the Atlanta Falcons. It's put us under lights. That's what I like. It's going to put pressure on the young quarterback and Michael Penix Jr. But I don't think he'll have it any other way. And this is where you know so-called legends be made, right? Playing in prime time, only game, you know, on that night. So you the only show on, and you got to deliver. And that's what Michael Penix Jr. is trying to bring to the table. So definitely, all eyes are going to be on him. Now, I think one of those Monday night games is a doubleheader. I think it's a Buffalo week. I'm not 100% sure. I have to go back and look at the schedule. But I think they do have a doubleheader on one of those weeks, but it don't matter. Um, Everybody going to watch Josh Allen go against Michael Penix Jr. because 2, you know, athletic gifted quarterbacks going at it. And you can't wait to see what happens with that. So those under the lights games is really going to be huge. And that's where the Atlanta Falcons putting pressure on not just the Atlanta Falcons, but NFL as well, right? You know, don't make the NFL be wrong by putting some duds out there, Falcons. You didn't do it last year. I think every primetime game we had lived up to the hype. Maybe not the Raiders game, even though we did win that game. They did make it interesting in the Falcons, way, but because that's what Falcons do. We do make things interesting, but um, it wasn't one of the most exciting games. But you go back to Monday Night Football in Philly, that was a really exciting game. The Kansas City Chiefs game, Sunday Night Football, where we got cheated, that was a really good game. Thursday Night Football against Tampa Bay Buccaneers overtime, that was a really good game, right? Then, like I said, the Monday Night Football against the Raiders, maybe a dud, but Atlanta Falcons did make it interesting to the end, so you gotta like that. So under the lights, guys, that's where pressure's being put in. They're doing it first 7 games, 3 primetime games. So it's going to be exciting to see what Michael Penix can do in those 3 primetime games. All right. So one of the things that which also put so much pressure on Michael Penix is this is a young offense, right? Now, not an offensive line. So one good thing about this offense, the offensive line is not young, right? It's not. So I think that's really going to help Michael Penix Jr. Sorry about that. I think that's really going to help Michael Penix Jr. When you're looking at the offensive line because they do have some veterans up there. They got All Pro Chris Lindstrom. You got Mr. Ironman himself, Jake Matthews. Matthew Bergeron is coming around. Ryan Nuzul, don't start at 12 games for the Atlanta Falcons over his career. So, coming in, so he's not a fresh starter coming in. Started 8 games for Atlanta Falcons last year. So, and then Caleb McGarry has improved. Especially in the pass protection, he's outstanding run protector. You know, but that chemistry him and Chris Lindstrom for so many years has been there. So you like the the veterans from the offensive line standpoint. But when you look at the young talent that Atlanta Falcons have, that's where it gets kind of interesting. Now you got Darnell Mooney, who's been in the league for a while, who's a a vet there. You have um, Cardell Hodge is a vet, right? But then you go to the young talent with Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts and Drake London and Michael Penix Jr., Tyler Algier. All those guys are young. This is a young offense, right? But a lot of these guys have delivered their whole career. You look at Drake London, a guy whose upward trajectory has been going up and up every season, and this is with the inconsistency at the quarterback position. So, Drake London, in my opinion, is the number one. He showed it last year, going over 1,200 and some yards. He showed what kind of player he can actually be with consistent quarterback play. Hopefully, we get more of that this year with Michael Penix Jr. Darnell Mooney is a veteran. I think it was a good sign. I think it's good complementary to Drake London. The way Darnell Mooney, they talks about how smart he is about understanding offenses or understanding defenses, knowing how to get open. So you like to see that from Darnell Mooney. But then you go to the guy who could be a freaking all time great and be John Robinson. The way he's able to run the ball and you can see the improvement he got from year 1 to year 2, going to his third season. You just imagine being able to control the clock for Michael Penix Jr., being able to run that ball. It's going to be really, really huge for the Atlanta Falcons. And then you got, right behind him coming in, Tyler Algier, you know, just a bowling ball himself coming down, putting the pressure on that defense to tackle him, get up under his pads, man. It's just lovely, right? Lovely. And then go to the guy, one of the guys that I designated as one of my key players for this year is Michael Penix Jr. Because I'm going on record saying if Michael Penix Jr. I mean not Michael Penix, I mean Kyle Pitts. Sorry about that. If Kyle Pitts have one of those years where he had like in his rookie season, right? Atlanta Falcons is going to be an unstoppable offense. I just believe that. So, not putting a lot of pressure on Kyle Pitts, but if Kyle Pitts can develop the chemistry with Michael Penix Jr., um, and then all those other guys going to do what they do because they've been consistent for the most part. Darnell Mooney just getting with the team, but Drake, Bijan, Tyler, those guys been so consistent, throughout. Then we got Charlie Warner as well, another vet that comes in, for run protection and stuff. But Kyle Pitts, I already said, is one of the keys to this season. If he can be dominant like he was in his rookie season, that's going to open up the Atlanta Falcons offense so much more. The consistency from those other guys, we expect them to be good. But the youth on this offense, it gives you a couple of things. It gives you, young legs, but it gives you, the potential to be good for a long time. So I love the youth, the young offense that Atlanta Falcons have, and you compare those with those veterans on the offensive line. It's just, and this is the reason why the Atlanta Falcons didn't make a whole bunch of moves for offensive players this year. They got Jack Nelson, right? They brought in a couple more offensive line. They brought in a running back. Of course, they brought in Nick Nash. You know, some guys that was undrafted to make this offense more potent. But they felt like the offense was good to where it was, right? And just going out the last game of the season where Drake London, Bijan Robinson, and Michael Penix Jr. all had career days. That's just tell you a lot what's going on, T. Terry. So this young offense is going to be really good for Atlanta Falcons, right? And that's why they put so much pressure on Michael Penix, because he have the pieces, right? This is the opposite of what Caleb Williams came into. It's opposite of what Justin Fields came into, right? No offensive line, right? Putting your young quarterback through, all those ups and downs, coming to a bad team and not being ready to be succeed, right? You need to build pieces around your quarterback, and in this case, the Atlanta Falcons definitely have done that, right? Especially on the offensive side of the ball, they 100% have done it. Offensive line is pretty much all coming back. Got a new center, but they're there. Those guys been playing together for a while. Same offensive line coach. Um, they know what they're doing, right? They is going to be, so that's going to help Michael Penix Jr. out, right? Like I said, the pieces around him already been proven. Those guys going to help him out. So putting the pressure on him, you know, with this young offense, this is the reason why. Go back to my first topic when I said that they have the optimism for him. It's because that these guys have proven it, throughout the last couple of years. So that young offense is going to be deadly. It really is going to be deadly. It's really going to be deadly, man. I can't wait to see what they're able to do with that young offense. All right. The last topic, guys, is the future, right? So let's talk about that, right? We when we talk about um, Michael Penix Jr., this Atlanta Falcons team, we talk about the future. The first thing I want to talk about is Kirk Cousins, right? And it has not been mentioned, right? But we have seen a bunch of highlights, and it make you wonder: is Kirk Cousins there doing OTAs? Now they said he did show up. He showed up. One of the days, but I just wonder if have Kirk been out there, right? Now we haven't seen no throws from him or anything like that, which is, I guess, rightfully so because he's not the starter. But it just, I'm really interested in see um, what the Atlanta Falcons going to do with Kirk Cousins. We talked about that. Now I've been on record saying that I don't mind him being the backup for Atlanta Falcons. I really don't. I think having Kirk Cousins on the team will only benefit them because of his experience, and he's not a locker room counselor. I really believe that he would be professional to the end. Comes in and he probably would help this team win games. Now he was selfish last year when he got hurt and didn't let nobody know, right? And we lost all those games because of that. But I do believe that he comes to grips with it. His football mentality. I know he still want to be a starter, but the fact of the matter is, it's really not no starting positions out there for him to get. If he's not starting in Atlanta, maybe Pittsburgh's still out there because Aaron Rodgers haven't decided to come in and make himself, present at this point. Any other team is not out there. So starting off with Kirk Cousins, the future being him a backup, it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do with Kirk Cousins. And does that put more pressure on Michael Penix Jr.? I don't think so. I think at this point in time, um, This is Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris golden ticket. It's that golden ticket. They moved up, got Michael Penix Jr. when they already had signed Kirk Cousins, right? Then the next year, they move up again to fix the pass rush. This is the golden ticket. This is the season. They're putting all their eggs in the basket for the young quarterback and Michael Penix Jr. because the pressure is on him, right? But so he don't have to worry about looking over his shoulder, worrying about Kirk Cousins because he's the guy that they want to succeed. And that's why they gave him all the tools on offense. We talked about our weapons he got, but then they try to give him a better defense as well. So they put literally a great team potentially around Michael Penix Jr. to succeed. So that's why all the pressure's on him because if he plays well, the Atlanta Falcons should be really good this year. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. We still got some question marks on defense. I get it and all that stuff. But if Michael Penix Jr. plays well, Atlanta Falcons will be good. And then we talk about under the lights. We talk about, the optimism they got and things like that. That's going to be good. So the future of Kirk Cousins is really it's still out there, but I don't think it's going to hinder Michael Penix Jr. doing whatever he do. If he's on the team, I think Kirk will be a good asset for us. If he's not on the team, Michael Penix still going to shine. So I believe that it's not a distraction because the media want to make a distraction and talk about Kirk Cousins. The money thing doesn't matter. He's already owed that money. That shit don't matter. He's gonna be on the team. If he was off the team, they still got to pay him that money. So that does not matter. I think the biggest thing is Michael Penix going to be worried about losing his job to Kirk Cousins, and I say that the answer is going to be no. It's just that simple. So G. Terry says, who was here? Billy Mill says, so suck it up, Kurt. You're a damn backup now, bro. Makes your money. Chill out. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not like he ain't been a backup before. You got to remember, he was drafted as a backup when they drafted RG3, right? And then they picked Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. So he was a backup. He came in as a backup, so he know how it feels to be a backup. I think his maturity, he's gonna be a good teammate. That's what it's really gonna boil down to. So that's what I really believe. Millie Mill says. If Michael Penix plays well but still suck a little bit, then it's on the coaches at this point. Exactly. Right. The pieces are there, man. If they can't if we can't get this thing going, man, it's not gonna be because of the players. I'm just saying that I think the players, we got enough talent on this team to be good. So it's all come down to coaching. Some people, got their reservations about Raheem Morris. We're definitely gonna find out this year because I think he's been given a really good, solid team to compete this year. So it's going to come down to coaching. I do believe that, and I agree with you 100%. All right. So the last thing, guys, when we talk about the future, is he a franchise quarterback of the future? All right. So that was the thought process when they picked him number 8 overall. Right. They got a guy that they believe could be here for the next 10 years. Right. That's the belief. That's the belief. Right. I have said so many times, especially in the sport of football, if you don't got a quarterback, you don't have nothing, right? The Atlanta Falcons have shown this since Matty Ice left, right? We've been in quarterback purgatory. No, we're not the Jets. We're not the Browns. We're not teams that still searching for quarterbacks, after all these years. But these last 4 years for the Atlanta Falcons have been, a pain because of the quarterback play. we felt like we had some teams to compete. Right now, when Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith first got here, that team was in transition. Right, they let Matty Ice. Well, the first year, you know, that was Arthur Smith coming implement this year. Kyle Pitts had a good year. Cardell Patterson had a good year. Remember, Calvin Ridley took off after Game 5. So that team was pieced together because of COVID and because of the salary cap issues that we had, right? That team was really pieced together. All right, the next season, they let Matty Ice go, bring in Marcus Mariota, who's supposed to be a bridge quarterback. They signed Desmond Ridder, who they think is going to be the quarterback of the future. But from 2022 to 2024, right, the quarterback play has not been good at all. It just has not been. And that contributed to the Atlanta Falcons not being successful, because if you go back and look at those seasons, whatever you want to say about Arthur Smith, those teams was competitive enough to, in December football, still had a chance to win the division. That's how most of those seasons went 7-10, 7-10. We just couldn't get over the hump, and a lot of the games came down to the quarterback play. So the answer is, for the future, if he's the franchise quarterback, the Atlanta Falcons is going to be really set up for success, because we just talked about how they built this team, already made for a quarterback. And the fact that he's still on a rookie contract is going to only make the Atlanta Falcons build the team even better before they have to pay him, right? You go back and look at what the Seattle Seahawks was able to do with Russell Wilson before they had to pay him, right? Right? They created a Legion of Boom. They created, an offensive system where he could not put so much on his back, do the things he do, but that defense was so good because they were able to build a defense around him, right? You look at what the Commanders are able to do right now, going to a team that's on the rise right now. You look at the Commanders with Jaden Daniels, still on a rookie contract. Had all that calories, salary cap that they had coming in this season, right, to make that team better. The Philadelphia Eagles, before they paid Jalen Hurts, right, they was able to build that team up, and then they added the X factors in, like Saquon Barkley, and added more guys in to come in to help that team be complete. These are the things that we could really see if Michael Penix ended up being the guy. That's what I'm talking about. If he ends up being the franchise quarterback, and this year is going to tell us that, guys. This year is going to be huge, because Atlanta Falcons not playing to just see if Michael Penix be the guy. They also playing to make the playoffs and win the division. That's what their plan is. So this is not a season where we just want Michael Penix to prove it on. We want Michael Penix to play well, and that's why they put the pieces around him to be able to do that. So, and if he can do that, he'll solidify what most of us believe, and that's believe that he is a franchise quarterback. So that's the way that's the way I think about it. This the future, potentially, right? We're not going to crown him yet because he only played 3 games. We got to be realistic about this. But from what we've seen from those 3 games, and I go back to my first topic when I talk about the optimism that the Atlanta Falcons, the entire organization having Michael Penix. That's the way the same fan base. So everybody's believing, right? But you can believe and all that stuff, but you got to go show it, man. You got to put it out there. And we heard from Raheem Morris, we heard from Terry Fontenot at the end of the season last year. They're not going to talk about it. They're going to be about it. So far, that's what they have done, right? I think we all are excited about the offseason moves they made, culminating with the draft. But now it's time to see if the pick they made last year, right, where everybody had so much to say about it, See if it pays off this year with Michael Penix Jr. And they're putting all their pressure on him being able to deliver, right? The optimism they got for the team under the bright lights, young, talented offense, dealing with the quarterback controversy with Kirk Cousins. So much pressure on this young man to deliver and put us back into where we haven't been since 2017, and that's in the postseason. So I can't wait to see what happens. I know you guys can't wait to see it happen, but you know, I'm going on record saying I think he's the guy. I think he's the guy. But we still gotta see it. That's just the way it is. Let's get some of these comments out. T Terry says, "Where's Pitts? Haven't seen him in no clips." Right? No, somebody said that, man. Can we see a deep pass to Michael to Kyle Pitts? We seen Drake. We seen Ray. We seen Mooney, but we haven't seen Pitts. That's a great question. If he throw for 3,500 yards, the hell the franchise quarterback. We're gonna find out. He threw for 737 in 3 games last year. Yo, Ray Filthy said, "What up, bro? You look like a dark skinned Smitty Sports." What's up, man? Shout out to my boy Smitty Sports Machine. Shout out to Chris Tip too. Shout out to all my Falcon content creators. I'm gonna shout out who I haven't talked to in a while. And it's Mad Mike, Case, K Style, all those guys. I definitely need to get back up with those guys because those guys, believe it or not, the ones that got me into doing this, right? Those right there are the guys that inspired me to actually to start this thing, right? And those are the first guys I ever went on a podcast with anyway. So I need to shout out those guys because I haven't talked to those guys in a long time. But that Mad Mike, it's K Style, those guys over there, still doing their thing live and bringing that Falcon fandom, just like all the other content creators out there. The Falcon fan base is growing, and like I said, that's why when I say real Falcon fan, because if you are a Falcon fan, you are a real Falcon fan because you don't have nothing to go out and brag about. We could talk about our players, right? But we got no championships. We got just heartbreak. And if you still here, you are a real Falcon fan. So yes, I'm Ricondo, a real Falcon fan, but all you guys that still here after all the things we don't seen as Falcon fans, you are real Falcon fans as well. So just wanted to go out and say that. Ricondo real quick was Michael Penix Jr. stats in those 3 games. He threw for 737 yards. I don't have it right off bat. I can look it up real quick though, because that's a great question, man. We want to see that. We want to see Michael Penix stats, his first career. Yep. So he threw for 773 yards, 3 interceptions, and 3 touchdowns. And we can actually say 2 of those touchdowns touched the receiver's hands, right? I mean, interception touched the receiver hand. The one Kyle Pitts gave away, then the one where McLeod didn't catch, it popped up in the air. I talked about the one he threw in Washington where it was a timing where the receiver wasn't there. He ran the wrong route. So those are 3 interceptions. But 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. It sounds like, but if you watch the games, it was more than that. I don't think nobody was upset about the interceptions. And they'll blame him for it. So that's why you feel so high about what he was able to do. Michael Penix Jr. did better than Shadur Sanders, who 4-year, $4 million more in college than the full contract. Yeah, man. Yep. Shador just signed his contract. So that means I guess he's there to stay, right? They got to pay him now. Shit, they started a lot of yeah, yep. Um, watch how many new fans we get once Michael Penix take off. Yeah, I know those fair weather. I'm gonna tell you right now, if they ain't with us right now, they fair weather fans. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay, right? Because I can tell you right now, a lot of Atlanta fans are fair weather fans. The Falcons doing good. They come in and they hype up the team. Then they start playing bad. You don't hear from those guys no more. That's why I'm talking to you guys because you guys are the real fans. Think about it, guys. Think about what we don't been through with Falcon fans, man. And we still here. We still here. And we still believe. So and and like I said, if you watch any of my videos, once we win that thing, it's gonna be well worth it, man. It's gonna be well worth it. It really is. Um, talking about they been here since the '90s, man. Yeah, they ain't nobody. Yeah, they a bunch of bulls, bunch of bulls. Like we see, I can say this. I've been here since the '90s, so I didn't become a Falcon fan when Michael Vick got here. I'm just going to tell you guys that I was a fan before Michael Vick. I was a fan in '98 with Chris Chandler and Terrence Mathis when we went to the Super Bowl. Then I'd probably tell my age, but I was there with I was young, but I was there when Prime Time was there, right? And Andre Rison and Jared Glanville, those guys, I was there then as well. I was really young back in the days with Jerry Andrews and all those guys. I don't kind of remember those days, but I was there too. But I can't talk about William Andrews and all those guys because this just too long ago. Jerry Riggs and that guy, that Billy White Shoe Johnson. I don't remember those guys, but the Deion Sanders age till the '90s and the Michael Vick era, and then the best era we had, the Matty Ice era. I was been here through all those. Been through all those. So yeah, I don't seen it all, guys. I don't know how many times we don't seen the Atlanta Falcons blow leads in the fourth quarter, and we knew it was going to happen, but we still watched it. Right? We don't see that so many times. You can just sit back and laugh, man. You really can. The craziest part about it, in the last 30 years, the Atlanta Falcons have had more success than the Dallas Cowboys, though. Right? And everybody's talk about the American team and things like that, but the Atlanta Falcons have had more success than the Dallas Cowboys in the last 30 years. So let's just that we can brag about that if you want to brag about something. But of course, they're going to throw out their 5 Super Bowls and things like that because they got to live in the past, right? But just like this, what the song said, "What have you done for me lately?" Right? I just hope the Falcons protect MPJ. Yeah, man, and I think he's going to protect himself because that's why he changed the game, right? We know he athletic. We know he can run. We know that, but don't be dumb with it. Don't get crazy and let him turn to Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Cam Newton or something like that. No, stick to what he does well. Stand in the pocket, being able to move around when he need to. But I agree with you. Don't you know? That's one of my fears. I don't like to talk about it because of his injury history, but um, that's a great point. From Galveston Stakes, I bleed red and black, win, lose, or draw, Falcons for life. That's what I'm talking about, John. You see, you a real Falcons fan, man. I love it. I love it. I really do love it, man. That's what I'm talking about. Yep. Yep. If you're not even from, you know, Atlanta, if you I don't know if you move here where you're from, but if you bleed that red and black, man, you got me for life. We can talk Falcons all day. We definitely can. Definitely can. So but guys, I wanted to come in here today. I want to talk about Michael Penix Jr. I really want to. It's football. We're gonna everybody gets hurt eventually. Yep, that's why we got a great backup. And Kirk Cousins. You asked me what we do with Kirk Cousins. We got a good backup, man. So, hey, but I want to come out here. I wanted to come on here today and talk about Michael Penix Jr. and I want to talk about the pressure, right? Because the reality they are, man, they putting a lot of pressure a lot of pressure on Michael Penix Jr. this year, which is cool. And I think he can live up to it. But I believe the team has been built around him, so he don't have to do it all, right? Like we have our outstanding running game, right? And we can lean on that. We can lean on that running game. We definitely can, right? That's going to help with the play action passing, right? Got a great offensive line that's going to help, protect them like we just mentioned. So, and then to top that off, the moves they made this offseason is to put a better defense on the other side of the ball to be able to get him the ball back, to be able to help him not be able to have to, be Superman every game and just be that quarterback, that can lead us to wins. That's all we need. So um I think the pressure is good and I think it's warranted because the team is built for just having good quarterback play. And if he can do that, because that's not what we have had over the last couple of years. I mean, if Kirk Cousins had good quarterback play, would have been in the playoffs, man. They just say that. So even bringing in a 14-year vet, we still didn't get the quarterback play that we needed. And that's the reason why we didn't go to the playoff. It wasn't because the defense was bad, which it was, but the reality, the quarterback play was not up to par. And if we just had the quarterback play to be up to par, we would have went to the playoffs last year. That's not what happened. So 330 said, Raquel, what's up? Drake B. John has the experience to keep PJ, moment by making plays. Then he has Tyler. Exactly. That's what I mean, man. They got the assets, the resources around him. So the pressure is not only on him, right? He don't have to go out and be Superman. He just need to be able to distribute the ball to his playmakers and don't don't pull a freaking Desmond Ritter, man. That's what we asking. Don't be a Marcus Mariota, scared to pull the trigger, right? Inaccurate down the field, things like that. Don't be Kirk Cousins. Just lose like your ability to play good quarterback play that we seen your whole career. Like those are things that we had to deal with these last couple of years from the quarterback standpoint. So if he just don't do that and just be solid, right? We don't have to have him be perfect, but if he can just play have good quarterback play, I think don't worry about the pressure. And that's that you have it. So guys, thank you guys for tuning in today. Don't forget to like and share this video throughout. I hear from other Falcon fans. See what you guys think about the pressure putting on Michael Penix Jr. But thank you guys for coming out today. And I talk to you later. This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. Peace.